Okay, so let's talk about investment banking operations because most of us have heard about investment banking, but we don't really understand what are the career paths available in investment banking operations. So I thought of just making this video so that you understand what exactly is investment banking operations and how do you actually get inside this, right? So starting with the first aspect of understanding investment banking operations is to first understand that Indian financial services industry has been providing various kinds of value added services to companies which are not based out of India. So they might be based out of US, they might be based out of Europe, they might be based out of Australia, and all of these activities which cost them probably thousands and thousands of dollars can be done at a much cheaper rate in India, and hence the industry of knowledge process outsourcing has taken up in India. In fact, if you were to see the growth of the knowledge process outsourcing industry in India, you would see that it was just about $8 billion in 2010, and from there we have gone to almost $53 billion, which is expected by 2025. And at the moment, India holds about 70% market share in the global outsourcing business, which is a huge deal because just one country holding 70% of the entire business is something to really notice and to understand, right? So, primarily because of many reasons, because of education, because of the language, all of these factors have, of course, contributed to the growth of this industry. Anyways, so now what coming specifically to knowledge process outsourcing in terms of finance, you will see that you've got companies, you have general companies in the US, then you have got core banking companies in the US, then you might also have investment banks in the US, right? And all of these companies also have some subsidiary functions like finance department in case of companies. If in case of banking, you would have retail customer service. If you're talking about corporate banking, then it would be about credit analysis, credit ratings. And if you talk about investment banking, there are the three major areas, which is debt syndication, which is debt raising, institutional research, which basically means providing research to institutional clients like mutual funds, pension funds, right? And also mergers and acquisition, in which value added services are required in order to advise, create financial models, create pitch books. All of these are required as the major activities. Now, out of all these activities, have these businesses have come up in India which can cater to all of these needs, right? So, be it eValueServe, be it let's say CRISIL, be it Trust Vista, Transparent Value, and a lot of companies also in the back office operations part of the core function like trading, in which, for example, pension funds wants to buy some shares. So the entire process of trade settlement, trade capture, trade enrichment, trade agreements, risk management, all of these activities can be handled by a knowledge process outsourcing firm in India. And that's the reason why this industry, at least for now, has been in the growth stage, right? So that's why we call India as the back office of the US majorly. Okay, so let's first understand the entire value creation process of investment banking first. Okay, so there is when the problem starts where we have capital. So we have capital. So we want to obviously not keep it in a bank, because if you're keeping it in a bank, you are hardly beating inflation. So the value of money cannot increase. So you do research. So you do research to find out newer opportunities, newer stocks, newer investments, newer bonds, and after research, obviously plan on doing investments. And while you are doing the investments, of course, there's the execution part, right? So let's understand how value gets created out here, at least in terms of the knowledge process outsourcing business in India, right? So in the research part, all of this research either on behalf of the fund itself in the US. So if there's a mutual fund in US which wants to do research, wants to invest, then we can provide research for that also, and that's primarily called as buy side research. And if you are talking about providing research for brokers out in the US, because they also have to entice the buy side clients by providing good research so that they trade with them. So that's called sell side research. Even that is outsourced to India. We talk about credit rating, and even now data analytics also in investments and in research gets outsourced in India, right? So that's one area of value addition which the KPO business does in India, right? Okay, so some companies out here, so just so that you understand, so Tress Vista provides buy side research as well as sell side research. Crisil also does buy side as well as sell side. Earlier, pre 2014, it was primarily only sell side research that used to get outsourced in India, but that because obviously you can't really deny the cost benefit of sending the work in India, so even buy side work started coming in. If you talk about Visible Alpha, they are into analytics, so they don't really create research, but they accumulate research and provide a tool which a fund manager can use to make investment decisions, right? And also Morningstar, which has its operation in India, which does the same activity, right? Now let's look at the next part, which is the execution part, right? Now, when it's not so simple that the mutual fund in the US will just put up a trade directly from their own demat account and then everything just stops there, right? Because usually they will not trade like that. So usually they will have a broker or an organization which trades on their behalf, right? So they will put that order to the STO, which is also called as a security trading organization. So they will execute the trade on the behalf of the mutual fund or the pension fund, whatever institutional client you have, right? Now, since we're talking about a daily operation which takes place, it's not just like a retail investor where we're investing once in a while. So it's happening pretty regularly, right? So you need a process for that. So the process is that there has to be a trade book, there has to be a trade capture, there has to be a trade affirmation. You have to make sure that the trade that the client actually intended was actually done by the STO. You have to make sure that the custodian the custodian will also confirm the trade. So there's a lot of process. Plus, you have to reconcile. You have to make sure that your value and position, profit and loss, everything is just maintained. So all of that activities plus management of risk. So making sure that we are communicating to a client what their overall risk is also a huge part of investment banking operations, because majorly we are aware of that, which is obvious because it's very easy to understand. It's something that it has been spoken about a lot, but without the execution management part of it, investment banking would be in big trouble, right? So that is basically the value added activities that happen at the execution stage. And now, which are the companies which do these activities for the US clients? So you've got AXA Business Service, you've got eClerx, you have SS&C Global, and also there are a lot of companies who have created captives in India, like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citi Bank. All of these have created their own captives and they provide this services to their parent company in the US, right? So huge opportunities in terms of long-term career growth as well as initial entry. So I wanted to take you through some jobs which you will understand that these are the jobs actually available, right? So if you see Goldman Sachs, you've got the analyst on confirmation. So this is exactly the same job which we're talking about in terms of the trade validation, right? So we're trying to affirm the trade. So there is an analyst here who has that job, right? So this is obviously a captive of Goldman Sachs. So he's responsible for trade affirmation. He is supposed to follow up with the clients, whoever has put the trade, to make sure that this is actually what they wanted to do, making sure that the confirmation happened within 2 days, because typically when you trade, you get an order receipt from the exchange, right? And also the counterparty. So unless you dispute it, unless you say that, okay, this is not what I really wanted, it is taken as a positive affirmation, right? So you have to make sure that the client, we do give that service to the client to make sure that, okay, you really need to check this and affirm, right? And obviously escalate when things are not matching according to what was planned, right? So this is one of the jobs. Second job, if you see here, this collateral management analyst. So again, there are terminologies which you might not understand sometimes, but it's okay. Most of the times it is related. So here, obviously the job is related to portfolio reconciliation, in which he or she obviously is given the responsibility of making sure that at the portfolio level, the analyst is making sure that the checks and balances are maintained, right? Okay, next let's look at some other job roles. So this is the settlement analyst. This is by Citibank. Now he is related to more of the last process of the entire trading operations, which is the settlement, to making sure that the trade actually, the security is actually changed hands and it is reported, right? So out here you can see monitor errors and ensure transactions are adhered to audit and control policy. So there are a lot of jobs here. There are big names out here which you can join if you intend to get into investment banking operations. And if you're a fresher, and if you really want to get into the investment banking field but don't know how, and probably you want to get started first with a job, then this is an excellent place to start, because you get the big names, you get decent salaries as well, and also you get the brand name. So these are some of the real level salaries. So obviously, the bigger the employer, the higher the salary. Okay, so companies like Goldman Sachs will pay 7 lakhs. Okay, but there might be companies like Accenture which might pay basis your previous experience, any experience that you have. There are also Deutsche Bank which probably at the starting level will not pay you much. But again, you have to understand that as a fresher, your expectations have to be right. So anything between 3 to 4 on an average can be expected in the investment banking operation fields in the first year to start with. Eventually, 3 to 4 years, anybody should be between 7 to 8 lakhs per annum, right? Okay, so how can you get in? So you can do our certificate in investment banking operations program, which is specifically made for you to clear interviews in the investment banking operations industry. So this program first aims at creating a foundation for you, because no matter which qualification you're coming from, whether you're coming from engineering, whether you're coming from commerce, it really doesn't matter. We still have to create a good foundation of your understanding of various assets, because you can't really understand trade life cycle, how to do settlement, how to do reconciliation, unless and until you understand what these basic asset means, like basic terminology. You should understand between what is difference between a right issue. You should understand what is options. You should also understand what is preferred share, what are dividend, what are corporate actions. In case of fixed income, you should understand what is a yield curve, because all of these terminologies will finally come in handy when you're doing settlement, because settlement requires you to look at the details of a trade. So details of the trade cannot be understood unless and until you understand the asset, right? We also dive into risk management at the later stage. Heavily, a lot of time is spent on interview preparation, and that too company specific. So basis our experience, we spend some time understanding what an employer understands, what an employer expects from a candidate, and that is what we specifically train you on that. Apart from obviously the basic CV and personal training, which of course will be a part of the course. And also we spend some time on making sure that you have a good understanding and practical demonstrable level of Excel, which you might have to use in the job, right? So that's the certificate in investment banking operations. Now, in terms of the placement highlights, our network seems to be growing every quarter. So at the moment, we have got about 166 quarters, and every month we tend to add about 30 companies more for placements. And these are some stats of placements, which obviously you can read by yourself. So I'm not going to really get into that. But coming to the role-wise salaries, which you can expect, a fresher should expect somewhere between 4.5 to 5 lakhs per annum. If you are making sure that you are consistent in the program, then that is what you can expect. But we don't obviously guarantee any placements, because we can guarantee you interviews, and we can guarantee you the learning. We can guarantee you that we will provide you the opportunity, but ultimate preparation lies for you. So we don't make any fake promises, but we are very certain that if a student is consistent, honest with his preparation in the program, then there should be no reason why you should not get placed, right? So some of the recruiters which we have with us are these in front of you. These are just a glimpse. We got about 166 recruiters, but of course I can't go with the 166 recruiter list. So I'm just giving you some glimpse of the different companies which are available with us. Learning modes, of course. If you are looking for placements, then of course the 24,999 program plus GST, will be the right program for you. If you just willing to learn live, online, then 14,999 plus GST. If you want a self-paced program wherein you can just learn by yourself, but you need some assistance with doubt solving once in a while, probably thrice a week, but in live session, and you go for a 999 program, 9,999 program. And if you just want the content, you can probably don't even have a doubt, and you can do with some forum doubt solving sessions. Then the 4,999 program plus GST will be your choice. Will be probably the best choice to you take, right? So that's something about the investment banking operation programs. Payment options, we've got various kinds of payment option. In fact, we are the trusted partner of Razorpay because we have zero disputes, zero escalation. In case anybody wants to get some loans and financing for their education, then Advance is there. But obviously, that comes with credit checks, which the Advance team will do on our behalf, making sure that because if you need really a good CIBIL score to get that loan, we are a registered entity, GST registered entity. Our trade name is M Square Skills LLP with the GST number, which is mentioned out here. And that's a little bit about investment banking operations program. See you in class.